Welcome back. Joining me are Douglas Darby and Anthony Alvarado. Both are recovering addicts who are talking about recovery and that the heroin issue in the community, specifically in Winnebago County and in the surrounding area, in this region. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you share your story and tell people how you got to where you are today?
Absolutely. I myself, I've been sober for 3 years, and actually I celebrate in about 16 days.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm 1 year out of prison, so literally I just walked out, and it was a long road. You know, I was incarcerated for robbing 2 pharmacies in my own hometown of Green Bay, and you know, for myself. It's literally what it took for me. You know, it was that half a chance at life to wake up and realize that I was just sick of living the life and being a bum for that long of a period.
Yeah, and for me, you know, it was about 15 years ago that I started using drugs. Much of my life was spent here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Okay.
So by the time I was 17, just about 3 years later after I started using drugs, I was already, you know, dropping out of school, a deadbeat student, you know, working a dead-end job, and on the side, you know, pretty much a full-time addict.
Wow.
You know, and from about 17 to 24 years old, you know, really from there, it was just a downward spiral. You know, thank God, about 6 years ago, almost 7 now, decided to stop using the heavy drugs, and been completely clean and sober. I've been through rehab a couple times, but for over a year. That includes alcohol. So we're just more than happy to be here today.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
You know? Thank you.
It's hard to imagine, or you know, I'm sure the viewers think that, you know, wow, like 17, 16, you were
first time drug use was at 9 years old. You know,
wow.
and that was, you know, that was that everyday use. No, but I mean, shortly after my father passed away, committed suicide at the age of 15. It was my coping mechanism. It was my way to escape, and frankly, it was a new outlook on life that I had. You know, what was this big important thing that took my own father from me? I mean, my father was an addict himself. How great could it possibly be? So it was curiosity, it was coping, it was all those things combined.
And the same thing for me, you know, I was about 14 years old, started using drugs, you know, alcohol, then marijuana, and then from there it was just an open, you know, plate, if you will, you know.
Yeah,
my parents were addicts,
next
you
thing,
know, what is the next best thing? And for us, unfortunately, it was everything.
Yeah.
You know, there was no stopping. Specifically, you know, prescription pills, and then even leading the heroin became the real issue, you know, long-term into it.
So what we're seeing, I guess, you know, in the prevention community, that a lot of people that use heroin have started with opiates, prescription pain medication. But before you even started with that, there was other experimentation or trying other alcohol you mentioned and marijuana. And
I think that's a big message to get across to people is this isn't something where we're saying, look, if you go out and you do this, you're an addict. You're going to go to prison. You're going to have the downfalls that Anthony and I had. What we're saying is there was a million different red flags that went off before I was sentenced to prison, before I got my wake-up call, before Anthony got his wake-up call by losing his kids. Take a look at your surroundings. Rethink. You know, I mean, literally, I mean, it sounds so simple, so cliche, but there was many things that I myself could have done differently that we just ask kids, you know, just hear our story out.
Right. So, you know, for adults and parents that are watching this, what would you say to parents about, you know, risk factors or those million little red flags that, you know, what are some of those red flags?
Personally, I'm going to say, you know, be active in their life. And do you need to be over their shoulder? No. Give them some responsibility. I think that's a big thing to allow kids to have. But also understand that kids today are dealt with pressures, responsibilities that myself nor the parent ever had to deal with.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure going on in kids today, and for them just to put that open hand of understanding, awareness, education for the parents themselves is huge. Know what your friends are doing and know what their friends are doing. You know, sadly, this is one drug where one time can be the last, and that's not to scare anyone, it's just the cold hard fact, you know. And,
I mean, if you take a look at the child themselves and you actually listen to them, you know, watch what they're doing. Maybe their grades are slipping, you know, maybe they're not coming home as much, maybe they're not looking you in the eye, maybe their behaviors is off, their mood's just off. Notice those, you know, and be consistent parent, you know, and be there for them. Ask them the hard questions. Put up the barriers at the same time. And let's be honest, there needs to be some consequences too. If a child's going down the wrong path, there needs to be, you know, some deflection of that activity that's happening. For me, myself, my parents weren't really around, so I kind of could do whatever I wanted to do. And because of that, I decided to make enough wrong choices to where the point it almost ended my life.
Yeah, I think, you know, you make such a great point. And you know, when our children are infants and toddlers, we do so much to ensure their safety, and then as they become teenagers, you know, you give them, you put a little, give them a little more room to roam and give them some freedom, and yet our jobs as parents are not done, and it certainly takes a lot of you know, just awareness and education, and you know, you have to stay in their lives, but it's different from what it was when they were.
And it's not only different, but it's also scary. I mean, let's be honest, when you look at the drug use that's going on in here in Winnebago County, or you're looking at any of the surrounding counties, you know, kids are growing up so fast, whether it's technology or social media or whatever the case may be, they're also growing up faster in the sense of using drugs. You know, and you got kids that are out there 9, 10, 11 years old already using heroin because it's socially acceptable. And that's scary. That's why there is the impact of 50% increase in heroin overdoses throughout the state of Wisconsin, because it's becoming more of a common thing. It's becoming that common party drug. It's becoming just the norm. If that's a social norm, us parents, because I'm a parent, need to make some changes in how we parent. So that's not okay in our kids' eyes.
The threats are just immense when you think of that, and that it's available and in our schools, in our community.
In our schools, it's at the parties. And another thing is, myself as an addict, do you think my mother ever wanted to say, my kid's a junkie?
No.
And you know why she didn't want to say that either? Because I was putting the smile on my face. I was manipulating. I was deceiving. I was doing everything to make sure, like, hey, Mom, the wheels are still on. I'm still going in the right direction. But in all reality, she maybe knew there was a problem. She didn't know the extent of it. But she never turned me down when I put my hand out for money, because there's a fine line between helping your child and enabling your child. And that needs to be drawn very clear in the sand. You know, and my mom holds it very dear to my heart, and I think she says it best. She goes, I will do anything for you, Douglas, anything in this world, but I will not further in your death, and by that I mean your drug addiction. And that's a hard stand to take, especially as a parent. I mean, no.
Well, and you know, maybe it's hard to know what to do as a parent. You know, when do you reach out for help? When do you say, oh, you know, when I was in high school, you know, I experimented or something like that, and I'm fine, you know, and how to know that, you know, it's time to step in.
Well, and we all know that story. We all know the, you know, I smoked marijuana on the weekends, I drank on the weekends. You know what? I know people like that too, and they're successful parts of the society, good parents, the whole nines, go to work all day. I wasn't one of them. Anthony wasn't one of them. Why would you take that chance with your child? Why would that child take that chance with their life?
Well, thank you for I appreciate your honesty.
Absolutely.
So tell us about Rise Together. You two are both the co-founders.
I'll let him start off on this.
You know, Rise Together is something that we just kicked off not too many months ago, and it's an exciting time, you know, as we take a look at Rise Together as a whole today. You know, it really is about bringing a face and voice to recovery, you know, and that's through our speeches, that's through advocacy, and that's through mobilizing the recovery community by really providing hope to the still suffering addict and preventing our youth from going down the same path we did. I mean, that's really what we're doing here.
You know, and a lot of it is also, you know, it's more than sharing a colorful story. Anthony and I walk into these classrooms, and it's not a scare tactic. It's not a, this is what's going to happen. We're just saying, hey, we get it. Being a teenager, being a kid today, it's hard. No one's saying that it's not. Please know that not only do Anthony and I care, but your teachers are out here. You have counselors out here. If you know someone, if you're having troubles, and this doesn't even have to be in heroin or addiction related. This can be suicidal thoughts, depression, anxiety, cutting and burning. You broke up with a boyfriend or girlfriend. We understand. But there's a right and wrong way to do that. And even in the grips of addiction, Anthony and I still knew the right and wrong choices. We chose the wrong choices. Don't let your rock bottom be Anthony's and ours. And that's what Rise Together is. It's
Right.
it's a story of hope. It's a story of success. And for today, Anthony and ours success. We pray for the same success for tomorrow,
Yeah.
as we live as addicts and in the daily struggles, that cloud that follows us. Today we are a success.
Yeah.
And that's all we ask.
And people are seeing a sense of hope in that, you know, by
Yeah.
bringing that education, that awareness on substance abuse, what it's doing to our community, what has it done to my family, what has it done to Doug's life, what has it done to our surrounding community members or even friends. You know, between the both of us, we've buried a lot of people. You know, in the last 7 years, we buried 11 people.
Wow.
And a lot of it is, or actually all of it, is drug related.
Wow.
And we'll
Yeah.
not stand for that anymore.
Right.
And part of Rise Together is very much changing the generations below us, or at least trying to help change or
Yeah.
curb this problem that we have in the community.
Taking
by
the
bringing
next-
awareness
yeah.
to the subject.
Yeah. It's
and
important to try
no
to...
longer hiding
Yeah.
it, getting rid of that stigma, and making sure that, you know, parents unite, the community members unite, and we all rise together, in a sense, to help.
That's the biggest thing.
situation.
Getting the students involved in Rise Together has been huge. It's been huge for even our own recovery. We're looking to the parents. We're looking to the corporations, the businesses in our communities. This problem is not going away, and it's not just isolated events anymore.
Right.
So you got to ask yourself, what is it going to take? Are we going to stand by another year and see the increases go up 50%? Or are we going to take action?
Right. Right. So let me ask you about the community, and you know, you are reaching out to businesses, which is really exciting to get the message. I mean, because when we talk about the community, it's you know, you're reaching schools, you're reaching teachers, you're reaching kids. What can the community do to support people in recovery?
You know, that's a really great question, and it's such a broad question. Again, you go back to education and awareness. You know, if you have a story to share, share it. It doesn't. You don't even have to put a face to it. You know, you can go out, you can share on many different platforms, many different forums. But there's also other things. Give some time up. You know, if there's an event, you know, I'm gonna put this out there. Invite Rise Together. We'd love to come speak. We'd love to get the message out there, the story out there, because we do have degrees. In
the street of some sense.
Yeah,
Right?
and I think it's important that, you know, you're really trying to break the stigma of addiction, because, you know, when you think of addiction, you know, it's struggle.
Yeah.
It's struggle. So it's nice to put a face of doing something positive for the community and being able to give back to the community, and it's really neat to see.
And that's what we're doing. You know, even with the Rise Together, you take a look at it long term. Right now, it's a lot of speeches. We're going out, we're doing exciting things. We're going to do some fundraising activities. So we'll need community support from there, whether it's doing a concert or just doing, you know, a mentorship program. We eventually look to get into recovery centers, you know, and starting our recovery centers and doing recovery coaching programs, things that can really reach out to the city, reach out to the youth, and help educate even the parents how to deal with somebody that's dealing with addiction or dealing with substance abuse.
Or to see the warning signs.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we say we want to curb this problem, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to take tomorrow's customers out of our city.
And that's how corporations can help. That's how businesses can help. Taking those funds and redirecting them in an area that's in great need.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas and Anthony.
Thank
This is really important information. You know, it's a devastating problem in our community. And so we do really need to come together and work on this. And I just want to say to adults, to parents and grandparents and teachers and coaches, and all adults who have a young person in their life, that it really takes a village to keep our kids drug-free. I think it's important to talk to your kids, listen to your kids, set expectations, you know, teach your kids how to handle stress effectively. We know that stress is out there. We know that our kids have a lot of stress, and there are effective ways to cope with stress. And there's good ways and bad ways. And so, you know, we can talk about the good ways, like, you know, talking to a family member, listening to music, exercise are all positive ways. So I appreciate you coming out.
No problem.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, that about wraps things up for this edition of reTHINK. We hope you enjoyed this show and are excited to go out and be part of the community. Thanks.